When a research institution operates for decades at the highest levels of global academia, the structure holding it up goes unnoticed. But apply enough weight from the top down, and even the strongest pillars begin to fracture. Since 1959, the Indian Statistical Institute, or ISI, has operated as a globally recognized center for statistical education and research. It functions under a unique society-based governance model. The original ISI Act of 1959 established a sanctuary where scholars shaped the curriculum, directed research, and elected their own leadership, largely insulated from direct state interference. That legal protection is currently facing a targeted repeal. The proposed Draft ISI Bill of 2025 seeks to replace the 1959 Act and the democratic society structure with a standardized body corporate model. The government's official rationale is to align ISI with other institutes of national importance, a legal status for premier public higher education institutions, claiming this will improve governance and accountability. However, the legislative text goes beyond administrative updates. It targets the specific mechanisms of self-governance, replacing them with a centralized bureaucratic chain of command. This video examines how moving institutional governance from peer-elected scholars to centralized authorities impacts academic autonomy and social equity. To understand what is at stake, we have to look at the institutional blueprints and why scholars believe the 1959 design is the only thing protecting their intellectual independence. Understanding the current conflict requires an examination of the architectural blueprint of the 1959 society model. This diagram maps the existing framework. Built on active participation from faculty, staff, and society members, power flows upward. These stakeholders elect representatives to academic posts. That flow culminates at the Academic Council, the apex authority. The Academic Council holds jurisdiction over curriculum, programs, and research. Looking at the complete structure, the ISI Society forms a protective canopy, functioning as the institutional conscience and creating a democratic, self-governing loop. Other leading research institutions operate on similar logic. Universities like Oxford and Cambridge rely on peer governance and faculty autonomy to maintain rigorous standards. The 1959 framework ensures that intellectual leadership, rather than administrative convenience, drives institutional decisions. The 2025 draft bill proposes an entirely different architecture, inverting the flow of power from the top down. This diagram outlines the proposed corporate model. At the top sits the central government, operating through MOSBI. MOSBI establishes and influences a board of governors. The majority of this board are nominated or controlled by the ministry. This board assumes control over key appointments, including the director. Further down the chain, the bill introduces management councils for regional centers, creating parallel structures underneath the main board. By introducing multiple administrative authorities without a clear hierarchy, the bill creates ambiguity. The Academic Council is still present, but its powers are curtailed and pushed to the periphery of decision-making. Shifting authority from subject experts to administrative structures marginalizes faculty voices. When administrators dictate curriculum and policy, innovation in teaching and research is stifled. The bill completes this transition by eliminating democratic processes like elections, shifting the institute to a system run by government nominees. The 2025 model replaces a participatory system with a centralized one. It redefines ISI from an independent research body into a subordinate government agency. This structural shift triggered an immediate institutional response. On March 27, 2026, the general body of the institute released this formal resolution. Comprising faculty, students, staff, and alumni, the stakeholders rejected the draft bill. Their opposition stems from documented risks to the institute's academic excellence. A major contention is the socioeconomic impact. Historically, ISI operates as a model of inclusive excellence, offering free education and scholarships regardless of financial background. Stakeholders argue that increasing bureaucratic control leads to commercialization. This raises entry barriers and threatens the financial policies that support economically disadvantaged students. Beyond structural risks, there is a glaring procedural anomaly in how the ministry justified the legislation. In its official FAQ document, the ministry cited a brainstorming meeting held on July 5, 2025, as a key basis for repealing the 1959 Act. A subsequent right to information request, a legal mechanism to access government records, exposed a contradiction. In their official response, the government explicitly denied the existence of any record of that July 5th brainstorming meeting. This lack of transparency and the absence of documented stakeholder consultation undermines the legitimacy of the entire legislative premise. The pushback from the general body is a defense against a policy that threatens to dismantle the Institute's social contract with the nation. The general body acknowledges that institutional reform and modernization are necessary to keep pace with global standards. However, the proposed solution is to fix operational gaps in the current implementation, rather than replacing the 1959 society model entirely. By returning to the 1959 society framework, the Institute can upgrade its systems based on the general body's recommendations. The first reform is implementing structural accountability without sacrificing democracy. This involves introducing periodic independent review committees and rigorous performance audits for all governing members. The second reform modernizes the democratic process by digitizing governance protocols and increasing engagement from alumni. The non-negotiable red line is the Academic Council. It must be legally safeguarded as the apex authority over curriculum and research, insulated from ministry interference. To achieve this, stakeholders are calling for the immediate withdrawal or suspension of the current draft bill, followed by the formation of an independent expert committee to draft evidence-based reforms. True global excellence thrives on peer governance, strict academic freedom, and inclusive opportunity for all of its students. The future of the Indian Statistical Institute must be shaped by academic wisdom and social responsibility, not by bureaucratic convenience.